What are we going to talk about?
I'm just waiting for Nick to give me his prepared cold open.
He's
not here though.
Oh, was that a joke? I thought he might have. If he actually texted you on the side and said,
by the way,
hey, make sure I have a cold open for you. Welcome back to the NAFTA podcast. We are here. It is a Thursday night. Weekend's on the horizon. And it's just the Whitaker brothers. Me and Johnny here. Little laid back pod, I feel like.
NAFTA After Dark. You just got a touch of the Tuckers for one episode and they're gone again.
Yeah, they're at this point they're basically just special recurring guests.
But I will say this. We mentioned it on the pod last week. It was in the cold open, Nick's favorite. Nick is finishing grad school, which is a valid excuse. He's got a final tomorrow. Good luck, Nick. Make Barb proud. And then Dylan is it's Alex's, his wife's birthday. Valid excuse as well. Shout out to Alex, the best spouse of the pod. Shots fired, Lex. Because Lex won't ever hear this because she doesn't listen.
Does Alex listen?
I think occasionally. I actually think Dylan has an interesting situation where I feel like he plays the podcast out loud in their apartment, which would be a direct violation in my household. Like, can't ever happen.
That would be a noise complaint from your roommate.
From my own roommate wife, she'd be like, "What are we actually doing here?"
That would be tough.
Yeah, some spouses are more supportive than others. But anyway, shout out to Alex. Happy birthday. I'm sure Alexis can hear me say this right now, and she's probably tisking. It's all jokes, all banter. But yeah, you got just Michael and I. Slow start. We'll ramp it up though.
Oh, we'll ramp it up right away.
Yeah. All right, let's do it.
Because listen. I know we just can't.
Wait, when you start something off with, listen, I know it's going to be good, so let's hit it.
Listen. I know we just cracked him for 7 goals, so I swear this is not salt in the wound. But I had a genuine, because it's well documented on this podcast, my disdain towards media in general. All media. I'm not like a weird cherry picker. But especially sports media and especially ESPN, SportsCenter, that type of shit. And we mentioned it previously on the pod. The quadruple is over. Man United, I think even Nick effectively out of the title race for sure.
To Nick's credit, never said he was in it.
Yeah, exactly. Nick never. He said like it would have to be like monumental collapses for them to be involved.
Like I said last pod, Nick's a pretty realistic fan.
Right, and I think he'd be pretty realistic about this. If Manchester United had went on to win the Premier League, they've already won the EFL Cup. Say they win the FA Cup, and then win the Europa League. Is that a quadruple?
Yeah.
Why?
4 trophies.
It's not the quadruple.
It's like getting a B+ and not an A+.
What? So, I'm trying to compare it to something. Like, would you rather that, or would you rather win the Prem and the Champions League in the same season?
I mean, we're speaking from places of privilege.
Well, neither one of us has done that.
I know, but neither one of us, honestly, to be honest, do you give a fuck? It's well documented. Do you give a fuck about the Carabao Cup?
No, but I'm saying that just winning 4 trophies in a season, Like, we don't care about the Carabao Cup, for sure. The EFL Cup.
Yeah, FA Cup, too. I think it's a big thing there. Being American, it's less for me. We've argued this before, for sure. I think that anytime you add 4 trophies to your trophy case in a single year, you're doing something right. I think it should
Sure, but I'm asking you, would you rather win the top 2 or... I mean, I don't know, dude. I think even if you say the FA Cup is 3, the third most important trophy for an English team, it's a distant third.
For sure, yeah.
So would you rather win 1, 2, or 1, 3, 4, and 5? I guess.
Do you think the Europa League is bigger than the FA Cup?
No.
I don't think they would. I think they would agree with you there.
Foreign English. I really listen. What was the top 4 last year? City, Liverpool, Chelsea,
and Tottenham.
Tottenham were 4th. Oh yeah, I guess they're in the Champions League.
Champions League, yeah.
And then Manchester United was 5th or 6th.
5th, I believe. I can get this answer for you. I don't know why.
For some reason, I thought that they dropped out of the Champions League to the Europa League, but I was pretty sure that was not correct.
City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, United,
and then United. Okay.
Yeah. Then West Ham.
Oh, I can't believe that actually. Yeah. Dude, I think I'd rather win the double, win the top 2 than. Like, I understand the Europa League is winning a European Cup, but it's not the first. It's like the NIT tournament.
Yeah, I agree to an extent. I think my view is going to be a little bit different. I think it's unfair to ask a City fan this because.
Well, yeah.
If you say we're winning the Champions League, I don't care what else comes with that. It could be. I think it could be not winning the league, not winning the FA Cup. You win the Champions League, and maybe you win the Carabao, and we're like, do it. I think it might be just Champions League, and we'd be like, we're good right now. Let's go and do it. I personally, again, I think this is an American perspective on this sport, which is what we bring. This is our niche. How does American break down some of this shit that we're somewhat brand new to in the sense of 15 to 20 years of learning about this? I think I'd rather win the Europa League than the fucking FA Cup.
I see.
If I'm putting myself in my football manager brain when I'm sitting here on this computer watching my little polygons win, FA Cup's dope. I want to win the Europe. I want to beat Başakşehir. I want to beat Celtic.
Right, but you're looking at it in the perspective of, like you said, football manager, like building something. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, you're talking about, this is Manchester United.
Yeah.
It's the biggest, second biggest English club, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Why are they in Europa League?
But I think that you can't lay the sins of the former father on the one currently. So you can't talk about, like, hey, Ten Hag wasn't there last year. It's his fault.
I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. I'm just saying the club is where they are currently, and there's a lot of people on that team right now that got them to the Europa League.
I know. I think that you, if I reveal a little bit about you, and I'm sure you've revealed this before, the listeners at home, all dozen of you, should know Michael's a Betis fan. So, I don't know.
Listen, there was a moment where it was 1-1 today where I was kind of like, it would be so sick, but... It was at Old Trafford. They're a lot better, and Betis didn't even have their first 11 out.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was no Fekir. That's really the only one that I at a glance saw that was not playing.
I mean, Carvalho, he usually starts, right?
He started, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
My final thing on it is just. I think for sure, either way, like I'm putting a hypothetical where like both outcomes are pretty insane, but, and I guess it is a little bit just because of last year. Like we were in all 4 competitions till the very end, and it felt, I guess last year it felt like special, like the run, and if it would have happened, everyone was like, it can't happen, but like, what if it did? That'd be crazy. And then to see it be thrown around like for a team that's in the Europa League and a team that's like in a distant third is just kind of like, what are we talking about?
I get you. I now I can see clearly now the rain is gone type of vision on what you're trying to get at here. It was not only premature, it was immature to throw the word quadruple and Manchester United around this year, especially because last year there wasn't a legitimate shot, more than legitimate. You guys played every game possible to be able to do it, and I feel like it wasn't that big of a news thing until, I guess, right around this time, right?
Yeah, probably.
Because you had the FA Cup. As soon as you guys won the FA Cup, it became bigger too.
Yeah.
I believe, right?
And also, this is not, as I said in the beginning, this is not a shot at United. This is like a media thing. Because, like, they're the one, United's not putting out pressers that are like, watch us go for the quadruple.
No,
you know what I mean? Yeah, like it just is kind of like, you know, it just seems really, you're like devaluing what it actually means.
Yeah.
And like no one has in England has done it, so.
Well, I think too, just to build on the conversation we're already having, my club in Spain, the little noisy neighbor for you guys, it's interesting the lack of value that we're putting on the Europa League, because Sevilla lives and dies by winning that cup, by winning that trophy, by winning that competition. I think almost more than the Copa del Rey, which an important tournament in its own right, has its own place there. I do think, though, that the English fan puts way more stock in the FA Cup than a Spanish one would be in the Copa del Rey. I think the only one that's maybe bigger than the FA Cup might be like the Pokal in Germany, because there's just there's so many upsets and whatnot, and they actually take that shit. The smaller teams take that shit really seriously.
That's what I was just about to say. I would say that the teams outside the top six in England, outside Real Madrid and Barcelona, maybe Atleti, outside of like Bayern, really. I mean, that's the only one in Germany, and then PSG in France. Like when Betis won the Copa del Rey last year, it was a party.
Yeah, that's true.
Like they went crazy.
That's true. I mean,
It's like if Villa won the FA Cup, that would be nuts.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, you're bringing up a good point. If any team that is not used to lifting it lifts something, it's important. Because, I mean, one of the reasons that I'm attracted to this sport and want to learn more about it and want to participate in it is because of the community that is built. No, the community that's built because of where you live, because of where you're born. You're born
I thought you meant like the online community. I was going to be like, holy fuck.
No, I never want to be part of that. But I think it's awesome. Like, I think the reason that we take so much pride in being, Cleveland fans is because we grew up 45 minutes away. Now, let's say that there was a Canton professional XYZ team. We'd be a huge Canton advocate.
Oh, for sure.
And that's what's awesome about soccer and football is the small towns have a team that you can sit there and be like, I go to every. It's like if Mount Union was actually D1.
That would be
We grew up in Alliance. We go to Mount Union games when we were growing up, and if somehow they could rise through relegation and play or pro rel and play Ohio State, we'd probably maybe be a Mount Union fan.
All right, for context too, the last 10 FA Cup winners, starting by the last year, then going back, Liverpool, Leicester City the year before beat Chelsea, which was huge, I think. Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United, Arsenal, and then in 12-13, Wigan Athletic beat Man City.
Yeah.
And that was like, but I'm saying like that's, I guess, is that 11? No, it's 10. That's 10 years, and only 2 teams not in the top 6 won it. And then if you go back even further, Chelsea, City, Chelsea, and then you got Portsmouth.
Well, I think
which
that's
is
also
insane.
Yeah, Portsmouth. That's I think what we're missing out on, and I think next year, like Dylan talks about this all the time. Next year, the opportunity to have City, if we're not relegated out of the, League Two, City, Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool. We absolutely just scorched earth Chelsea, but at some point they're going to be back. They have too much money not to be. These 5 teams, Newcastle now with a ton of money. Tottenham will always be an ancillary figure, you would assume. And then, I always find it really interesting. Like when we met Dylan and he said he was a Wolves fan, we always thought that was so cool because there's a team that has a weird connection to a Portuguese agent that now gets decent players and XYZ. Like you're going to get more and more and more of these Premier League teams with the resources to compete here, and I think it's going to make the league more fun. It's already, I think, the most fun league to pay attention to and watch. But like to think back to like Everton winning a trophy, for someone who's newer to this, I will say, like again, 15, 20 years, that's new. It blows my mind.
That Everton could have ever won anything?
For sure.
And they won a fuckload too.
Yeah. Like they won a shit ton. Portsmouth, like you just mentioned, winning. Like thinking about Forest and Aston Villa winning a Champions League. Like, are you kidding me?
Also,
I
think Portsmouth won in 07-08, which was approximately 15 years ago. Can you imagine like tuning in 15 years ago, seeing Portsmouth win the FA Cup and being like, "Oh, I'm going to be a Portsmouth fan. Like we're going to fucking run this shit."
Fucked.
And then and then you're watching them and like, I mean, I think League 2 or 1 for sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's really interesting. Also with how communication can travel so quickly now and how we're so connected, like now you don't have to make that mistake. If you really want to be a Tottenham fan, go right ahead, dude. It's miserable.
Be our guest.
Be our guest. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know. I think that if they win the FA Cup, even Man United, I think they can consider this a really good year.
Oh, yeah.
I do hope that it is an Arsenal-Man U final in the Europa League. I think that would be awesome.
Oh. You know what I want?
What?
Wait, well, first off, they're out. Arsenal's out of the FA Cup.
No, Europa League.
Oh,
did I
no,
say FA Cup?
you probably did. You probably said Europa League. My bad.
Yeah, we beat them.
The FA Cup. I would love to see Brighton Fulham final. It'd be so sick.
That is something that I actually can prescribe or get on board with. It's like they're having such a good season in the league. Not both of them are going to make it to Europe. Let's get one of them the shot in the FA Cup. I could be totally down for that. Brighton have
Grimsby, Sheffield United have Blackburn, United and Fulham, and then City and Burnley. I mean, dude, like, if no offense, if one of the Manchester teams loses and you get any of those other ones, it's gonna be awesome. Like, there's a real opportunity for somebody other than, you or United to win it.
Yeah, I think if we go to Europa, like I was just talking about, you got some interesting ones. United's obviously, I think, through 4-1. They do have to go to Sevilla and play Betis. 2-2. That was in Portugal, though, for Arsenal. When they go to the Emirates, I'm sure they'll hopefully figure that out. But you still got Roma. They had a big win today. Juventus only won 1-0 against Freiburg. Pogba didn't even dress. Union Berlin still in it with a tie. But
that's a bad tie.
Yeah, it is, because it was at home as well.
And I think it's Gilloise. It's a Scottish
Belgian
team.
Club.
Oh,
No,
Belgian? Oh,
yeah,
oops.
it's a Belgian club. Yeah. I don't know.
You're so right.
You got Shakhtar, who's playing home games in Poland. Like, good story there. Feyenoord, who's got, I believe Van Persie's their coach. I'm an idiot. He is not. Disregard what I just said. But I think you got some decent teams. I would love to see United Arsenal, just as a bias. I'd rather see Roma than Juventus, for sure. I hope Juventus gets knocked out somehow by Freiburg. And then Leverkusen, Union Berlin's a cool story, from there. And then I still think it'd be hilarious if West Ham got relegated and won the conference. It would show just how pointless that trophy is.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you go from, like, you value Europa League to then, like, one more equal step down to Europa Conference, and it's pointless? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, listen, the Europa League has been around longer than the Europa Conference has, but in 7 or 8 years, it's not going to... People are going to be like, oh, they had the Conference League. It's going to be like it was said in the same way as like the Europa League was before the Conference League was even here.
Yeah, but think about it. I mean, if I'm looking at these teams, West Ham, Villarreal are probably your 2 favorites, right? Başakşehir might be as well, depending on how they play.
You better say them.
I was just going to say, this is going to be my point. This is one of the only opportunities that if you're a Fiorentina fan, like, you're going to lift a European trophy, because I think they actually have a shot to... They looked really good the last matches, last legs.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got a 1-0 win against Sivasspor today. So it's like, it's exciting, it's fun.
But again, you're saying it quite literally in a way with that and Fiorentina, like, you're not a good enough team to get into, like, the big ones. So, like, this is your chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just by... And again, like, not... These are the teams that should be in it.
Yeah.
And I like being able to watch more soccer. I like being able to watch these teams play teams from other countries because they never get to do that unless it's a friendly. Mm-hmm. It's interesting matchups and stuff like that. Like, I didn't know who Sivasspor was for, the longest time, and then now I do because they played a team that I like. But again, like... For West Ham, yeah, winning the Conference League would be sick. For Leicester City, when they were hovering in the 6, 7, 5 area, winning the Europa League would be crazy. But, like, really, for Arsenal and Manchester United, I think getting, like, top 4 is more important than that.
Yeah. Well, I think the double-edged sword about the Europa Conference League, for example, is if you're an Arsenal, if you're a Man United and you have a bad year, at Tottenham even, I think, you have a bad year and you're their manager and you're playing in the Conference League, you are now tying yourself to a competition that if you don't go to the final, you probably should be fired.
Well, that's why you don't even set yourself up for that. If you're a Man United or an Arsenal and you're in the Conference League, what happens if you win the Conference League? You go to the Europa League. Mm-hmm. You don't want the Europa League either. So what you do is you basically, all your players, you play for the Prem, and then you essentially put out rotated teams and youth guys for the Conference League games.
Yeah. I mean, I think that on this pod, the correlation, the parallel that we've always tied soccer to is college sports, college athletics is closest atmosphere-wise, closest to, ties of where you're from, who you root for, that type of thing. I think also...
Like traditions, too.
Yep, for sure. What you can look at with the Conference League is the bowl gamification of...
Oh, 100%.
Like, now, if you're in the Conference League, you're playing in the Idaho Potato Bowl.
I was just going to say, what bowl is the Conference League?
The Duke's Mayo Bowl, the Idaho Potato Bowl, like
the first one is the
GoDaddy
GoDaddy.com Bowl.
Yeah. So
and
that's
then
all this is.
Yeah, and then you basically like the Champions League is like your college football playoff.
Yep.
And then whatever your 6 like not New Year's bowls, but like those 6 other kind of big. Your 9s play your 11s or something like that.
Traditional BCS bowls are the Europa League.
Yeah.
You're still getting to go to like a Tostitos Fiesta Bowl type situation or Sugar
Ready?
Bowl.
I'm about to blow your mind. And if Ohio State plays in one of those bowls, you're like,
Pissed.
oh, next season. We just gotta wait for next season.
Ohio State played USC. Was it 2 years ago? 3 years ago? In the Rose
Utah.
Bowl?
They played Utah.
I was thinking of this USC game, but
Oh.
Utah, yeah, last year. And you're
Yeah.
just like, I mean, I want to win, but I don't.
Care.
No, if we lose, it doesn't do anything to me. Again, that bowl game for Ryan Day, the coach of Ohio State, for anyone listening not familiar with the Ohio State coaching staff, that game is a lose-lose. You win the game, you're supposed to win it. You lose the game, we're probably sitting there being like, does this guy know what the fuck he's doing? So I think that's what the Conference League is for, especially for. I mean, Moisey's already on the hot seat, but if you had Conte in there, I think that'd be even worse. And I think that's a pretty good transition before we get into the games. Let's talk about this. They looked awful. That game was boring as all hell.
Shit.
And they're out. And you know what? I know that Nick was backed into a corner and was lashing out in the one section of the last pod about this Liverpool top 4 thing isn't guaranteed. The form that Tottenham's on and the form that Newcastle's on, my God. I've never seen a surer thing that I'd put money on to be like, I think Liverpool's going to get 4th.
Dude, when you literally say stuff like, well, they're out now so they can focus on the Prem. Not how they're playing. Like, that's how I've always said, like, if you're playing really well, you want to just, the next game, you can't wait for the next game to come, you want to play it, doesn't matter. When you're playing bad and you have literally, like, God, it's literally just who comes in my line of sight last is my least favorite player. Because, like, it was Bruno Fernandes, but now it's just Richarlison again. Because, like, I hate him. He goes out there and he sucks. And he just puts in a shitty effort. And then he always has the nerve to just one-up his shitty effort with, like, a pissy little comment about, like, well, I just don't get to play now. And it's like, dude, you have, like, 2 goals.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want?
Every person who's ever played sports has had a teammate like Richarlison.
100%.
Every person who's played a sport has a teammate like Richarlison. Their dad told them that they were the greatest thing ever growing up. They deserve to play. They question everything that doesn't go their way. It's never their fault. That's how I view him. And until I meet the man and I get to see, like, hey, he's a great guy. Hilarious. Hell of a golfer. I'm going to think that. You know?
I listen to the 12 followers that we have. I want you to somehow get this, what I'm about to say right now, to Richarlison. The only time you've ever been good is when I sign you on career mode and I literally control you and I make you good. That is the only time you've ever scored a meaningful amount of goals. The only time that you ever contributed to a winning team. The only time you've ever lifted a trophy. That's it. You haven't done shit, brother. And you're on the team who habitually doesn't do shit.
Yeah. Which I thought was an interesting conversation topic yesterday as well. The CBS team, the Abdo, Carragher, Michael Richards, and Thierry Henry.
Whoa.
We always compare them to the TNT crew and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think they're great.
They're the best. They're the A-team.
Carragher saying that, like, Kane's got to go. If he's not going to go now, he's never going to go. You got to go.
He'll never win.
The thing that did scare me, though, is he's like, the best place for him to go is United. And I don't want that. I definitely don't want that. Can you imagine him and Rashford moving forward? That'd be kind of scary, man.
You know when you put the shirt on somebody and it just fits? Like Anthony? Like, you put the United shirt on Anthony and you're like, oh, he's been a United player for 6 years.
Yeah.
Kane is such a United player.
Yeah, dude. I think it's like...
It sucks.
I've had the vision, and it ends really well for one person that's not on this podcast right now.
I know. Oh, man, because then Rashford actually just gets to play on the left, and then it's just like, you're fucked.
And I think that maybe, especially this year, there's no one better. on the left for sure. Like he's unstoppable. I don't know, man. Great question. Good opening segment. Let's dive in to the games for this weekend, our predictions, what we think is going to happen. We're going to fly through a few, and then there's 3 that I've picked out for a surprise for Michael that I want to suspend a little bit more time on. First game of the week is Bournemouth and your Liverpool. Tell me what's going to happen here.
We won't look half as good as we did against United, but we'll hopefully get I want a clean sheet, so I'm thinking 2-0. We also did beat them 9-0 at one point this year, which is even more insane, but I'm thinking a 2-0, 3-0.
Yeah.
Please, God.
A 9-0 and a 7-0 under the belt of this Liverpool team who has looked, on the whole, just not very good is kind of insane, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah.
Everton hosting Brentford. Brentford just beat Fulham. Haven't lost, as we documented last pod, since the first of the year. Sean Dyche's Everton sometimes have flashes of, hey, we're going to stay up, other times don't. I got Brentford in this one. I also had Liverpool in the last one, just so everyone knows. But I got Brentford in this one. I don't think you have Everton, so.
Definitely not. I got Brentford.
Yeah. Leeds hosting Brighton and Hove Albion. Leeds still in some just absolutely awful form. And such bad form also that they lost to Chelsea. I just want to put that out there. Another dig. On the other hand, Brighton looks really, really good. Only lost to Fulham a few games back, but they just look so consistent. They look so put together. Doesn't matter who they put out there. I have Brighton in this one.
Yeah, here's the thing I'll say about Brighton, which I think is incredibly accurate, which is kind of condescending coming from me or full of myself. But Brighton don't beat themselves very often, I feel like.
Yep.
And you have to actually beat them. And if you play well, you can beat them. It's possible. I don't think Leeds are capable of playing well enough to beat Brighton.
Yeah, I agree with you. Leicester hosting Chelsea. Barb Tucker's Leicester Foxes. Man, this one's actually kind of tough for me. Part of me wants to go draw just because I know it's possible. But Leicester, 4 straight losses, and they have only scored 1 goal in 4 games. All Chelsea has to do is get one of their defenders' big feet or big heads onto a ball in the box, and they'll maybe get 1 goal. So I want Chelsea here.
Giddy up, Barb. I got the Foxes.
There you go. Hey, you got one backer here for sure.
Let's go.
I think that 2-0 win against Dortmund was actually a pretty good win, though. They may have figured some things out. We'll have to see.
Still got to go away from home, man.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Tottenham hosting Forest. Tottenham
I
on
wish.
bad form. What?
If it was flipped, if it was Forest hosting Tottenham,
I'm right there with you.
I would go Forest, but I can't. I can't after this.
I'm going Tottenham as well, but it's another one I was toying with. There's 3 to 4 different matches this week that I'm it could just as easily be a tie. I picked one of them coming soon. And I do think Forest plays really, really well at home. But since
they lose score.
This is at the Factory of Horrors for Man City. It's at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'm going to stick with Spurs on this one.
Hey, I have a quick question. Is Lloris hurt, or did they just replace him? I've been meaning to ask that for a couple weeks.
That's a great question. I just X'd out of the thing.
Go ahead. I'll look up for you.
Yeah. Palace hosting City. One of my many bogey teams for City, although they have not beaten us in ever since 2018. But I'm just going to stick to this. Oh, no, that is actually incorrect. They beat us in 2021. I knew that was true.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't they get a draw too?
Yeah, draw and a win last year. So actually a bogey team maybe. But it's at Palace. City put in a decent performance against Newcastle-ish. Decent performance against Bournemouth. It's going to be coming off of, or right before a win we have to get against Leipzig. I need the guys to start playing better. I got to back City, obviously, but this is always a scary fixture for us, for sure.
You guys are going to win.
I also get even more afraid when Michael does things like that. And then the last game that we're going to fly through, Man United, Southampton. I think the 4-1 win for United against Betsy rewrited the ship. Southampton's all-time bad. I got United.
I also have United, and Lloris is hurt till late March. So
Okay. All right. Good to know. That's our research department hard at work. Jumping into games I wanted to just spend a little bit more time on. And by a little bit more time, I truly don't think that too much on some of them. Fulham hosting Arsenal. Fulham did just lose to Brentford. It was a good game. It's fun to watch. Arsenal still obviously playing very, very well, top of the league. It's a London derby. It's at the Cottage. So I just wanted to get your take. I feel like we're both going to be thinking Arsenal's going to win this one. I think it'll be a decent game. I think it'll be close. I could see Marco Silva shooting for a tie, for sure. So I think it'll be difficult.
Polina's on a red card.
Yep, doesn't help.
That's real bad.
Yep, you're correct.
If he wasn't on a red card, Trossard's out, Jesus is out, and Ketia is doubtful. Mm-hmm. So they don't really have a striker. Mm-hmm. If Polina was playing, I would be incredibly tempted to take a Fulham win.
A win, not even just a draw.
Yeah, I think they play up pretty well. They still have Mitrovic, but I think Polina in the midfield is like way too good. And I think if he's not there, Odegaard is going to basically do whatever he wants. And I think like Saka, Martinelli, and then whoever, they might just do like a shadow striker Pep thing, Arteta might do. So I got Arsenal. It's not worth me risking falling back behind in the rankings. I'll risk it on Leicester. I won't risk it here though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know. I think what Arsenal's gonna have to go up against and see if they can actually like win, and they have. I mean, this is totally unfair because they just had that amazing result against Bournemouth. But they're going to have better teams that are going to want to get a draw, that are going to want to get a point out of this, that are going to want to not go home with nothing, that I don't think they've really faced. And these last, 12 games of the season, those are the games that if they start winning those and they're winning them easy and it's at an easy clip, as a City fan, I'm getting more and more worried, for sure. I think this will be the first test of that. I think Fulham will definitely try to come out and at least get a point out of it. But like you said, I think the Polina situation kind of sucks. Real quick.
Polina is like arguably their best player.
Yeah.
So.
Did you know that Fulham have Levine Kurzawa?
Yeah.
I just saw that down there.
Listen, there's literally no better example of, in good ways and bad ways, the amount of money and the amount of talent that is existing in the Premier League from top to bottom. To the fact that like Kurzawa played for PSG, and now he plays for Fulham.
Yeah,
agreed. And like it's not like he's 34.
No.
At the end of his career, he's like in the prime of it, and he's playing for Fulham.
Yep, agreed. You're going to laugh that this is one of the games I pulled out, but West Ham hosting Aston Villa.
I love it.
The reason I pulled it out was we know that West Ham's been bad all season. Aston Villa, I do think, is starting to play a little bit better under Unai. 2 wins in a row, Everton and Palace. I think that going away in the Premier League is still a very tough task. This game will be at the London Stadium in West Ham. for West Ham, and I think it'll be close. One of the bigger reasons I want to talk about it is we're going to be on Moyes' watch until he's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. All right. West Ham at home, 5-2-5. So basically about even. Aston Villa away, 4-2-6. They're 8th in the Prem. Away, 4-2-6, but minus 8 goal difference. That's pretty bad. God, West Ham are terrible away. They're 19th. I have a draw. I think Aston Villa are better than them. I do think going away is a little bit tougher, even though West Ham pretty okay at home anyway. I think this has to be at least a draw, or he's gone.
Really?
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, which I haven't looked at it, so I could be completely wrong. Isn't the rest of their the next couple games are tough, right? City, oh no, that's canceled now.
Let me get it for you.
Southampton, Newcastle, Fulham, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Liverpool. I mean, God, I'll actually change it. If he loses this and then loses to Southampton, he's gone. He's gone for sure.
You can't lose to Southampton.
Yeah.
You can't do anything but win against Southampton,
I think there's a real possibility that if they lose, he's done.
Yeah. Well, this is the crazy thing, too, with how the league is. He gets a draw here, and they get a win against Southampton. There's 4 points for West Ham. Now, depending on how everything above him goes, you could be as high as 13th.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely be pretty safe. You could be 6 points clear of 19th and 20th realistically.
And the thing that we're not even mentioning is the last time that Aston Villa beat West Ham was 2015.
Yeah, you know what? That's always I always find that to be an interesting statistic because the teams year to year are not the same, but some teams just cannot go certain places and win.
Yeah.
So you know what? I think West Ham are all time not very good right now though, and I think Villa are actually on an upswing.
Yep.
Maybe not in the last couple games or whatever, but just overall with Unai.
I think they're trending up with Unai. I think he's a good coach. They got a good coach in there.
For sure. So I think I'm going to stick with my draw.
Yeah. I'm going with Villa. But I thought it was an interesting...
I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting matchup to double down on what I said earlier. Last time Villa beat West Ham away, 2011. So it's been a long time. But I'm going to stick with Villa here. I think Unai's a good coach. I think they finally got a good coach in there. They're going to end up having talent. I think West Ham has a ton of talent. I think beginning of the year, this was a game we were really excited about, probably, if you told us about it. And now it's kind of a weird one that we're still excited about. Speaking of good coaches, the last game that we're going to spend time on, Newcastle is hosting Wolves. Joe Linton out, still suspended. And the reason that I brought up good coach is I really like Lopetegui. He did a great job. Great job. That's probably not true. He got fired. But he did a decent job at Sevilla when he was there. And I do think that there are pieces of this Wolves team that are finally talking to each other and maybe coming together a bit. And I think that right now, Newcastle was getting a little too high on their own supply, and they're in some pretty bad form, albeit playing in a final and playing some important games and some decent teams. I got a draw. I got a Wolves draw in this one, just because I think, again, if you get Lopetegui in survival mode, they do know how to defend, usually. I can take Wolves with some points there.
I would love a draw. I personally... Wolves have been doing a lot better scoring, which is great for them and great for Dylan.
No Shar either.
No Shar, so that back line, that back five is not there. They have been a little bit shaky. I'm slowly talking myself into a draw here, but I think I'm going to hold firm and go for a Newcastle win. I think being at St. James Park,
Yep.
I think their offensive options, I think they have Isak. I think he's going to start too, because I think Callum Wilson was really bad in the Cup. So I think you're going to see Isak, you're going to see St. Maximin, and you're going to see Almiron. And then they have Gamerish still. And then I think they're just going to put two Longstaff and, I don't know, some ball winner engine behind him. And I think they're going to score more than maybe more than a goal. So I think that it'll be 2-1, 2-0.
Of the last 7 times these two have met, only 2 times has there been a winner. And it's 1 each for Wolves and Newcastle. They've tied a lot. But you bring up a good point. St. James Park, not an easy place to play. Last time Wolves won there was 2018. I believe that was a very, very bad
Newcastle team,
and actually probably a pretty good Wolves team.
Yeah. Newcastle have the 7th best home form, 6-5-1. So I think a Wolves win is the worst decision.
Yep.
Although the last time they were at home, I think they did lose to us. But
yeah. No, I'm backing Wolves. You scared me a little with the St. James Park, because we all know that's a tough place to play. But I'm going to back Wolves and back Dylan. I'm sure he's not taking them, so I won't be taking any juju from him or anything like that.
Wait, you're to be clear, you're taking a draw, correct?
Taking a draw.
Yes. Okay.
Taking a draw. We are tied at the top. I think this is a good time to mention this. 131 and 119. Michael and I with a 524 win percentage. Tied at the top. Michael made a triumphant comeback after I posted on Instagram maybe 3-4 weeks ago. How's the view down there? Might come back and bite me in the ass for sure. Dylan is still in third, 120 and 130. And Nick, bottom of the barrel, 113, 137.
I tried to help you.
You did. You didn't it's going to
listen.
get interesting. I think it'll be a fun finale, fun finish. One other thing that I like that we're keeping track of is our all-time record for predicting games. We did the World Cup, obviously. We've done, and this is off pod, we'll do the Europa League, we'll do the Champions League. Michael and I did the Conference League. We've done FA Cup, we've done EFL Cup. I think next year a goal for us would be able to kind of put those out on our socials too. Michael, man, you're kind of tearing it up.
You think so?
You're 50 games over 500 all time.
That's pretty good.
You're 217 and 167. I'm 211 and 173. Dylan is actually 10 games over 500 in this. He's 193 and 183. And Nick is, oddly enough, a 6.5 over 500, because you get half points if you guess the correct score. So he's 191 and 185. All of us over 500. So we know ball. Don't let anyone fool you.
Motherfuckers, we know ball.
We know ball.
God, I hate you little shits.
Yeah. And then the other thing that people love getting an update on, and by people I mean two, we do a live table at the beginning of every year. You get 5 points if you get it dead on, and then it matriculates down however far you miss it. So if you're off by 10, it's -5, etc., etc. Dylan is winning this right now with 48 points. Nick and I tied in second with 46. Michael, this is the one that you're stinking up a little bit.
West Ham really fucked me.
Yeah. Yep. I think we're both pretty high on West Ham, but you were really high.
Yeah, I was a little. I had the supply and I was passing it out.
Yeah, smoking that West Ham pack.
And I lost a lot of money because I smoked my own shit.
Yeah. All right, that's the pod.
All right, leaning into the dad jokes that Dylan gives us. What did the bad soccer announcer get for Christmas? Coal.
Michael did say coal really loudly and held it because I don't
Dude,
know if I'm going to be able to.
It's in all caps with an exclamation point. Like, what am I supposed to do?
I just don't know if I'm going to be able to edit that so it'd be listenable. So I just want to make sure everyone at knows.
Sorry.
At home knows. Cole.
Colo.
There you go. All right. Cheers.